Welcome back, everybody. I hope your week's starting off well and that you're enjoying some of this sunshine. Much needed sunshine, I would add. It's not that I don't enjoy the rain, but it makes it a little harder to get out and play and run around and sort of be comfortable outside with family and friends. And so grateful for both rain and sun. And right now we're having a little bit of sun. So I spoke this last Sunday on testing the spirits. I was inspired to speak on this topic from the first letter of John to the Christian community at large. It's an instructional letter, and it's not intended for just one situation, but for multiple situations. It speaks generally about the core values of faith, obedience, and love. Those are the core values, I should say, in the Johannine letters, okay? For you and I, those core values might be a little different, but for them it's faith, obedience, and love. And in this letter, we as Christians are called to test the spirits. So I started thinking, what does it mean to test spirits? That means we kind of have to get a sense of what testing is and what we mean when we say spirits, or what the author could mean when the author says spirit. So testing for many of us, as I indicated on Sunday, is fraught. Probably induces some anxiety in us from years gone by. In fact, some of you even mentioned that to me. You can still remember how much anxiety you had when you had medical exams or other high stakes exams that you had to take in order to advance in your career, your vocational journey. It does the same for me. And I'm sure the same can be said for our children as well, right? Unfortunately, that is the first thing we think about when we hear the word test. I believe that the author means test in the form of discernment. Discerning the spirits. Which spirits intend good, health, wellness, and which spirits are actually sowing seeds of discord, divisiveness, conflict. So what are spirits then? If we can think of testing as a kind of discernment, what are the spirits? I made the suggestion that the spirits are the ideologies, the sort of programs, some subtle, some not so subtle, that we receive on a daily basis and have received since we were little children. There are mantras, if you will. There are brands, there are advertisements, there are statements, not of fact, but of suggestion, that have come into our lives and affect us in ways that we may not always be fully aware of. So the discernment that we are called to adopt, which I suggested this Sunday as a spiritual practice, is a call to reassess or reevaluate what it is that has been guiding our decisions. I also spoke about how some notions of freedom as a kind of do what you want, an unbridled opportunity to just go and be and do, which unfortunately I would say is far too common in our world, right? Where there's little accountability or responsibility for our choices. This freedom, I'm saying today and I said on Sunday, doesn't actually exist, because even though you might think you are being free, you're actually being controlled by those programs, those subtle messages, those advertising campaigns. We are affected beings. As human beings, we are permeable. We are open to the power of suggestion. You and I both know this because we have all been influenced in ways that we did not know until after something had happened, or after we had made that purchase, which we didn't really need to make, right? We have all been influenced by the power of suggestion that we see in different types of advertising campaigns or political campaigns or any other kind of marketing campaign that exists in the world. So discernment, assessment, reevaluation is a spiritual practice because it is important for us to always be clear on what is guiding our day-to-day activities. We don't get to just go there free, willy-nilly, but our values are informing how we interact with the world, from what we purchase, from who we interact with, from how we interact, from what we choose to read, from what activity we choose to spend our time doing. Whether it's, gardening or walking or hiking or playing games, like there's any number of things that we could do. And I appreciate the intentionality behind the author and the call of 1 John to be intentional in our discernment of what is guiding our practices. As Christians, we know that some configuration of faith, hope, love, charity, love, obedience even, although we can modify that one, right? It doesn't mean just submitting yourself to some domineering tyrant. It means being faithful and obedient to what you know to be right and true, even when it's not convenient, even when it's not maybe the most desirable option at a given time. We know in the long run, these core values are going to guide us to a fullness of life and an abundance that is not confined just to our experience, but is open to all. The only way to build community is to truly ground ourselves in these values, which I believe are gifts from Creator. So I encourage you this week to further discern and assess what has guided, what is guiding, and what will guide your decisions and our decisions going forward in 2024 and beyond. Thanks for joining me today. Look forward to chatting with you a little bit more about this topic and seeing you on Sunday.